20,000 years ago, half of your body would have been dead within 6 hours of the temperature outside. That is not an exaggeration. That is the reality our ancestors lived in every single day of their lives. Ice sheets over a mile thick crushed down across most of Europe and North America. The air itself could freeze the moisture inside your lungs if you breathed wrong. And yet somehow, against every possible odds, small groups of humans not only survived this world, they thrived in it. Think about that for a moment. No heated homes, no thermal jackets, no emergency services to call if something went wrong. Just skin, fire, and each other. If you were dropped into that world today, you would likely be dead within a week. But they were not. They endured for over 10,000 years in conditions that modern humans could barely survive for 10 days. So how did they do it? What did they know that we have completely forgotten? This is the story of human survival stripped down to its rawest form, and the answers reveal something remarkable about what it actually takes to stay alive when the world turns against you. Let us go back to the beginning. The last ice age reached its coldest point around 20,000 years ago, a period scientists call the last glacial maximum. Massive ice sheets covered what is now Canada, much of the northern United States, and most of northern Europe. Sea levels dropped so low that land bridges appeared, connecting continents that are now separated by ocean. Average global temperatures were around 6 degrees Celsius colder than today. That might not sound like much, but it was enough to turn lush forests into frozen tundra. Woolly mammoths, cave bears, and saber-toothed cats roamed a landscape that looked nothing like the world we know now. Humans living through this period were not the technologically advanced beings we associate with progress. They were small bands of hunter-gatherers, often no more than 20 or 30 people, moving constantly in search of food and shelter. Their first and most critical survival tool was fire. Fire meant warmth, but it also meant so much more. It meant protection from predators who ruled the night. It meant the ability to cook meat, which made food safer to eat and easier to digest. It meant a gathering point where a group could bond, share stories, and plan their next move. Without fire, Ice Age humans simply do not exist. The archaeological record shows fire use dating back hundreds of thousands of years before the Ice Age even began, which means by the time the deep freeze hit, humans already had generations of knowledge about how to create and maintain it. But fire alone was not enough. The cold demanded something equally important, and that was clothing. This is where Ice Age humans revealed just how clever they truly were. Archaeologists have found sewing needles made from bone dating back over 40,000 years. These needles had tiny eyes drilled through one end, exactly like a modern sewing needle. This tells us something extraordinary. Ice Age humans were not simply wrapping animal hides around their bodies. They were tailoring fitted, layered clothing designed specifically to trap body heat. Some researchers believe this single innovation, the fitted needle-sewn garment, was one of the reasons humans were able to survive in Arctic conditions where other hominin species could not. Neanderthals, for example, appear to have relied mostly on draped, unfitted hides. Modern humans with sewn, layered clothing had a significant advantage in extreme cold, and some scientists believe this difference played a role in why our species endured, while others eventually disappeared. Shelter was the next piece of the puzzle. In areas with no caves or natural rock formations, Ice Age humans built shelters using the materials available to them, including branches, animal hides, and in some remarkable cases, the bones of woolly mammoths. Sites discovered in what is now Ukraine reveal circular structures built almost entirely from mammoth bones, arranged carefully to form a dome-like frame, likely covered with hides for insulation. Building a shelter like this from a single animal meant that one successful hunt could provide food, tools, clothing material, and housing all at once. Nothing was wasted. Every part of the animal had a purpose because survival depended on total efficiency. Food itself required constant strategy. In a frozen landscape where plants were scarce for much of the year, meat became the primary source of calories and fat needed to survive extreme cold. Hunting large Ice Age mammals was incredibly dangerous, but the payoff was massive. A single mammoth could feed a group for weeks and provide materials for months. Ice Age humans developed sophisticated hunting techniques, including coordinated group tactics to drive animals toward cliffs or narrow passages where they could be more easily killed. They also developed methods of food preservation, using the freezing temperatures themselves as a natural refrigerator, storing meat in ice or permafrost to prevent spoilage. In a strange twist, the very cold that threatened to kill them also helped keep them alive by preserving the food they needed to survive the harshest months. Social bonds mattered just as much as physical tools. Small, isolated groups could not survive alone for long. Evidence suggests that Ice Age communities maintained wide social networks, sometimes traveling great distances to trade, share resources, and even find partners from other groups. This prevented the kind of isolation that could lead to genetic problems and also created alliances that could be called upon during particularly brutal winters or lean hunting seasons. Cooperation was not a nice idea. It was a matter of life and death. A person who was rejected from their group in the depths of an Ice Age winter faced almost certain death. This is likely one of the deep evolutionary roots of human social behavior, the powerful drive we still feel today to belong, to cooperate, and to fear exclusion from the group. Knowledge itself was a survival tool passed down through generations. Elders who remembered which plants were edible, which routes led to reliable water sources, and which signs in the sky predicted a coming storm were invaluable to the survival of the entire group. Losing an elder did not just mean losing a person. It meant losing a library of survival knowledge that could take a lifetime to rebuild. This is why oral storytelling likely became so important during this period, a way of preserving critical survival information across generations long before writing existed. As the Ice Age slowly came to an end around 11,000 years ago, the world began to change again. Temperatures rose, ice sheets retreated, and the landscape transformed once more. Many of the massive animals that Ice Age humans depended on, including woolly mammoths and giant ground sloths, eventually went extinct. But the humans who had survived the Ice Age carried forward everything they had learned. The skills of clothing making, shelter building, food preservation, and tight social cooperation did not disappear. They evolved into the foundations of early agriculture, permanent settlements, and eventually civilization itself. In many ways, the modern world you live in today, with its heated homes, stored food, and complex societies, is built on lessons first learned by small groups of freezing humans huddled around a fire more than 20,000 years ago. They did not have technology. They did not have medicine. What they had was fire, cooperation, and an unshakable will to keep the next generation alive. And in the end, that turned out to be enough to outlast an entire Ice Age.